Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. Join us for this all-access pass backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live event industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to incredible guests who journey with us as we dive deep into the world of venues, tours, festivals, and everything in between. Grab your laminate and meet us in Venueland.
Today's adventure takes us to the open seas where live events meet destination experiences. We're joined by a guy who helps redefine what it means to build fan communities, but he's doing it at sea. Yeah, this is a very interesting episode. Please welcome the one and only Jeff Cuellar. Jeff, good to talk to you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are the CEO of Sixth Man, but while many people, over what 500,000 people have been, at your live events, some people may not even know the name Sixth Man. So tell us, what is Sixth Man?
We're a promoter. So I would say there's a good reason why not a lot of people know who we are, because we're the ones that are behind the scenes making the magic happen. So it is definitely our goal always to put forth the artist. And when I say artist, I use artist in the largest idea of that word.
Sure.
For our events and making sure that they are at the forefront, and of course follow with our fans, and then we kind of trail behind as that entity that is just producing the event.
So that's kind of the big picture look at it, but what is it that you guys do? Because you guys have a real specialty.
Yeah, so what we focus in is identifying communities, really, is trying to look at as I don't want to say underserved is not necessarily the right word for it, but when we are looking to create these immersive festival experiences, there's definitely no shortage of major festivals out there that can be a little something for everyone. And our thought process is let's dive really deep into something more specific, something more niche, and a lot of that can be centered around a specific artist or a genre, or something else from that, in that space. But what it allows to do is, if you want to grab an artist, like I love, Coheed and Cambria is a prime example of one that may not be on the tip of everyone's tongue, but their community is extremely passionate. They follow everything the band does. The band has their own set of comic books. They follow all of that. They really dig in and they go deep in terms of their influences and all the other pieces are part of it. And our goal is to bring to life that magic in that community and utilizing the ship as a venue. And one may ask, why a ship? Like why why not go someplace else, from a convention center to a resort or something along those lines?
Right.
And it is part of the magic, because I look at a ship as a promoter, ship's just a venue, but that
Sure.
venue has food, it has cabins, so it's where you're staying. We're taking you to international destinations, so you have that fun aspect. There's a pool, there's a casino, there's specialty restaurants. Some ships have go-karts on them. Like you name it, it allows us to really, I would say, provide a safe space for a community to be together, let loose, and no matter what political affiliation with, no matter what, how you identify, whatever it may be, everyone is there for that one reason. And so immediately you're on board with a couple thousand of your best friends, just from the standpoint of you all share that one thing in common. And we all probably have these passions, even between the three of us, that maybe we can talk about together as something we have in common. But outside of those circles, some of us, some people may call us weird, and say, you love the fact that you love that, Jeff. But how about you keep it to that friend group over there? So this provides a space for all of them to get together and just nerd out on their favorite thing. We've got 311. We've been doing 311 for over a decade now, and that
Also
event is
very
about to set
passionate
up.
fan base too.
Yes.
cabins left. So yeah, extremely passionate community. So that's what we look for is we try to identify, it all started in music, and music is always going to be, I would say, the core of what we do, just because I think it evokes so much emotion and there's so much tied to and influencing around music and bands as they tour. So there's already that natural place to go out and see bands or artists, on stage. So that's already there, but we've done more. We've done comedy. We've got, Burt Kreischer sailing out, later on this year. Nate Bargatze just finished an event with us that sailed out of Tampa this spring. We've done things with Savannah Bananas. We've got a Bachelor Nation group going on. We do Hallmark. So while I would say music is the core, we have ventured off and started trying different things because there are passionate communities everywhere. And I'm a firm believer if the community is there and this is something in their wheelhouse that they want to do and would like to do, then all we got to do is get them on the ship. Because once they get on, they typically fall in love and they're like, I never would have thought a festival experience could be like this. And now it becomes like, it's like camp in a sense, like adult camp. Like I'm going to camp this year because everything I love is going to be on that ship.
Yeah.
And the ship actually becomes the destination.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I love, I mean, you hit on it when you were saying kind of like artists as a whole, but really, like you said, you've got Hallmark, you've got one with Food Network chefs, which makes so much sense. I mean, it's kind of a really interesting way to capitalize off of these passions of people and these really passionate groups around artists, but also around niche genres of music or something. And you can kind of curate these bills, which I'm sure is really fun on the talent booking side of things too. But it does feel like I've got a coworker who's gone on a couple of these, and she's kind of not saying she's not interested in the artist, but she knows a few of them, but she just loves the experience. So even if you're not like all in on the headliner, she goes every year with her friends because she's like, it's going to be great music, but also she's like, everyone there is having the time of their lives. Like they're all like having a good time. They all welcome you in. A lot of the bands apparently are like hanging out at the bars and the casinos after. I mean, it's like, it just feels kind of like not saying you're trapped on a ship together, but it's like that is almost the magic is that you're all kind of like in this thing together, right? Like you're going to bump into other people and you're going to have that. So it's kind of, I think that is what makes it so unique versus being like a theater or a arena or something where people are kind of going in for a show and then they're bouncing.
You're all living together. And and I think we've all had festival experiences where, let's just say it, porta potties are not fun to use. Weather, all of those types of things can be, negative influences on, your particular experience. We erase all of that. And I don't need volume. That's the other big piece of it. I'm not, I don't need to sell 40,000 tickets in order to make something successful. I need a couple thousand cabins.
Yeah.
That's it. And, or even, I mean, depending upon the ship that we're utilizing, I need 1,000 cabins to make something successful. And I think the people, they're all there for the reason. And even the artists, we kind of hear it from time to time of like, those who haven't sailed with us before are like, oh, like, am I just, it's going to be too much. And we're like, we provide the safe space for them to be able to recharge, be able to do their show, be prepared. But also, I think the realization is, these are their hardcore fans. These are the fans that have probably been with them since day one, or since they discovered said artist. They are the new, ride or die, and they're with you forever. And as long as you want to have a career, you know that this group of people will always be with you. And they travel. I mean, like we know that there are meetups set up when certain bands and stuff go on tour, and they'll meet up in the parking lot and they'll pregame before they go in just to kind of get together. So I mean,
Sure.
it really is a community. Once the event plays off, and you hear from the artist like it didn't know it could be that way. Like it is truly something different, and I enjoy hearing the stories from my fans. How I changed their life based on X song or X performance, whatever it may be, and the impact of that.
The words that you guys use over and over again is tearing down the walls. That Sixth Man festivals tear down the walls between artists and fans by creating community-inspired vacation experiences at sea. So talk to me about that, what that's like to kind of be, That's definitely not a goal for so many of us who work in the live music industry, right? We like our walls. But this is a very different kind of experience than so many people are offering, which is what, makes it interesting. So talk to me about the inspiration and kind of how you guys got started.
The founder of the company, Andy Levine, I mean, that kind of was the goal. Was he thought there are too many walls in the space, and at that point in time, he was I don't know if he was actually managing Sister Hazel at the time. Actually, I think he was still managing Sister Hazel at the time, and they wanted to do something to really provide, a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And as the story goes, he happened to be sitting next to a travel agent on an airplane, and just they kind of got together talking. And the travel agent recommended, he goes, "Have you ever thought about chartering a ship and bringing, the band on the ship and everybody on the ship together?" And he was like, "Never thought of that." And
I
that
hope he
launched the
knows who
first
this
rock
travel
band.
agent is. You've invited this guy out to a ship once or
I don't know.
twice.
I'd have to ask. Yeah, right. That's the idea.
But what a cool also example of like sometimes we're so in our minds on a certain industry
Yeah,
and things. It's like here are the literal walls in our brain, and then you talk
right.
to someone who's a travel agent who has no idea about booking concerts, and they're like, "What if you did this?" And you're like, "Holy crap! Like what a brilliant idea!"
And it worked out. I mean, that we just celebrated this spring. So Rockboat turned 25, and so
Wow.
that is the 25th anniversary. And that's what that conversation is what started it all, in terms of breaking down those barriers. And it's fun. I mean, like I get it as artists. It takes a lot to, I think, tap into that creativity to do all the amazing things that they do, and just doing that sometimes can deplete that social battery. But
Yeah.
you see them on board, and I think they scan the crowd. They're just like, "This is great." I think I unfortunately did not get to sail on the Nate Bargatze Nateland event, but reports back coming back from the team where Nate had like FOMO. Like he's like, "I can't." Like he's scheduled for his things and he's doing, but he's popping into everything because he was having such a good time. He wanted to be a part of it. And here, it's a constant story we hear from people, like, "What else can I do? What else can I get into?" And sometimes they just take it upon themselves. It's easy. Kayamo, one of our festivals, just finished, and they were, having little mini elevator shows, as people were getting on and getting off the elevator. And those were moments that we didn't set up. That's something that the artists just decide on their own. Like, I'm feeling it. I want to get out there with my fans and make some connections. And I think that's, you talk about breaking down the walls. That's really what it is it doesn't have to be that traditional artist on stage. Like, okay, let's do other stuff. Let's get them out there and we'll play Flip Cup together. Let's get out there and do Belly Flop. Let's have a special Q&A podcast taping, whatever it may be. And let's, one of them has a special recipe from grandma that, goes on tour with them. Let's put it on the buffet and people can actually give it a try. It's those types of things that I think humanize the artist and then allow them to create even deeper connections with their fans.
Are you all finding because it is such a change of venue, change of space, that the artists are more receptive to these type of things? I think you may benefit, like, if it's just an arena tour, they're like, all right, here's kind of what I know. We're going to go city to city. But it sounds like, when you're working with them, they're kind of trying something so new that it sounds like they are maybe more receptive. Like, yeah, we'll host a karaoke night, or like something that's like, I'm already on a boat at this point. Like, yeah, let's throw all the ideas at the board and see what sticks and have some fun with it.
There's a lot of conversations that lead up to it. So, I mean, our typical cycle is we're looking to start having conversations, say with a new event, 16 months out, if not even longer than that. I mean, some events I can honestly say, 2, 3 years in the making, before it even goes on sale, let alone actually sales. So our goal is typically about 16 months out. We're locking something in, and this would be new business, not necessarily something that's
Sure.
repeat. Um, and then we're hoping to put it on sale. Like the goal is to put it on sale about a year out. 13 months to a year out that's my sweet spot. And then we spend that year working with the talent and the artist to determine, what is this experience going to be? How are we going to flush it out and start to, reveal that to the guests to kind of give them a flavor of like what they're going to experience. So some of that stuff is pre-planned. Some of the stuff kind of goes into contracts like, yes, you're going to play, two 60-minute sets,
Sure.
but then you're also going to do two something else. and we will work with you on what that something else may be. And a lot of times you don't want to pin it down because if we haven't had the conversation, maybe we find out that someone is a master Lego builder, and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
fun. Let's, like this is pretty cool. Like maybe we do
Do a
something
Lego hour. Yeah.
running Legos. And
Yeah.
it seems kind of like off the wall, but you're like, that's part of their personality. And it's something that they're potentially bringing into, their artistry. And why not learn about that? So there are pieces that kind of go to all of it, but that's how it kind of takes space. And I would say we're lucky from the standpoint too, that now that we've been doing this for, 25 years, we're out there. And I think,
Right.
go back 15 years and artists were still a little more hesitant. It's a big ask to pull someone potentially off the road and have them be gone for 4 or 5 nights, depending upon the length of the event, and interact in this way. But I think the realization is the experience and the level of care that we provide, the fact that, yeah, you're off the road. Like, take that as a plus, not a minus, and
Right.
let's figure out a way for you to kind of relax, kind of enjoy yourself, still get paid to be out there, and really make these meaningful connections with the fans. And you don't need the machine. And I think that's the other part of it too, is, a tour is like you need the machine to kind of get it going, depending upon, regardless of how big your tour is, there's still a lot that goes into going from city to city, date to date.
Yeah.
And need the machine. Like, we're providing everything for you. You just basically need to come and relax. And I think it's another thing that kind of puts people at ease, is to say like, okay, this isn't. I can kick my shoes off and kind of
Yeah.
relax a little bit and allow this to flow in a different kind of ways. It's taken a lot of time. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still a process, because while as successful as we have been, still a lot of people who are hesitant, and a lot of people who have never even heard of it. So it's a constant conversation of like the value that we bring and why they should be considering this as part of how they work with fans.
A lot of people have probably heard of your events, but may not have heard of Sixth Man. And so, how do you go about, yeah, obviously you see it, the TikTok cruise horror stories, right? People that have the bad experiences, and how, that's got to frustrate you when you see that, because it's people who think they know what they're doing, but they don't, and they make your business harder to prove that, hey, no, we're legit because we've done all these events. So what is that challenge like for you?
It's real. I mean, it's absolutely real. It's something that hopefully we can get past. It's also, I think, where we really come into play is we are an additional layer. And having produced, festivals in my former life before coming over here, you had to be worried about all of those other pieces. You are bringing all those pieces to the table, from concessions to,
Sure.
the operations side of it. Everything that is, I mean, sometimes you're taking, an empty space, completely empty space, whether
Yeah.
that's farmland or a field or whatever it may be, and then creating it. We are fortunate to say it's built. There is, a full team from Norwegian that's handling hotel operations, that is already handling, the bars and the restaurants and all those pieces. They're doing the turndowns of the beds. They're worrying about all of those kind of pieces. So we actually have the luxury of letting the ship be experts in their space, and then we are the customer service and production layer on top. So it's a while we do carry a big team, it does allow us to kind of eliminate some of those friction points. Not to
Yeah.
say, I mean, there's nothing is perfect. There's always, there's lines, there's things that happen, of course. But we are an extra layer, which I think is a great marriage from a standpoint of what we do and how we look at the ship as a venue. They get to operate and do everything that they do because they're used to providing that vacation experience, which is fantastic. We're like, keep doing that. We're going to put
Right.
another layer on top of that just amplifies it even more. And yeah, it carries a lot, but I think it adds to that or eliminating some of those frictions. And we have prided ourselves on a company. We deliver what we call special. And it's a whole acronym of how we go about, ensuring that every guest receives this extra layer of care, support, making them feel invited and part of the experience. And I think that goes a long way too. They feel it. We aren't just trying to, I mean, yes, we are trying to produce successful events, but we also understand the long-term vision of, if we can get you happy year one, then your likelihood to keep coming back and being a part of this community and community from what event they picked, but then even the overall community of doing this type of vacation at
Right.
sea. And so I think we eliminate it, or not eliminate it, but we do our very best to eliminate it, and it's been helpful. And then you see a lot of positive press coming out of what we do. But yeah, I mean, I see the documentaries. I've watched a couple of them. Uh, you
Yeah.
can't get around. I mean, it happens, but things happen on flights, things happen at resorts, things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
In arenas.
Yeah, it happens everywhere, and we just have to kind of maintain and do our best to make sure we're putting our best foot forward and showcasing, why this actually is. There's going to be less friction here and less possibilities for friction than maybe some of the other things you're doing.
Jeff, do me a favor and indulge me on the nerdy venue side of things, or the logistic production side. You obviously come from the festival space, but I just see like photos of these and I'm like, it's got to be so fascinating to like turn a cruise ship. Now, I know some ships have like performance spaces that are already built in. But if
Right.
you're doing something out on a deck and it's some sort of thing like that, you're probably kind of setting up a stage in a space that maybe was not built for that. But you obviously have a lot of people that are really experienced and know how to do that. But what is kind of the most nerdy, fun, fascinating aspect of that from your standpoint? Obviously, you've got the experience of putting it in a field, but it's another thing to put it on a boat in the water that's going to the Bahamas. So to me, that just sounds super fascinating to kind of like talk through the logistics, or even you're loading in as a band and you're loading it onto a ship. You're bringing your instruments on there. I mean, it just feels like a really interesting space.
It is, I mean, from the nerd side of it, yeah. It actually is one of those things I think people love nerding out about, that kind of get it. I mean, like our production operations team, there are challenges. There are a lot of challenges. I mean, you look at, you got one, if I want to grow an event, I can't just add cabins. I mean, it's not like I can build a whole like
Right,
new deck
right.
and say, great, here's another 100 cabins, let's do this. Space is one of the biggest challenges because a standard ship is already maximizing space to the best of
Sure.
its ability because you're out in the ocean and it's not like, hey, oh, we need more of X. Let's run to, Home Depot or, the store and pick up something like if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
So when looking at all of that and how to set things up, additionally, we're moving. When
Right.
in
Yeah.
a parking lot's not going anywhere. So
Right.
we're worried
Right.
about wind, we're worried about motion, tying things down, all of that kind of stuff, and thinking about storage, those types of things. I would say less concern about like I don't want to say entry exit points like how you would from access control of a festival, but
Sure.
we have to worry about like doors have to maintain access because they could be fire doors. Doors have to maintain access because that could be an important electrical door that someone needs to be able to squeeze through. So space from that standpoint. I think we luckily have been working, we're wholly owned by Norwegian. So, and we use primarily the same class of ship called the Jewel class. And we've actually used one Jewel class ship more than any other one called the Pearl. So we've actually made improvements to the ship based on what we need and
Oh,
how
smart.
to
Yeah.
happen to turn things quicker
Sure.
for us. And that's something we constantly look at of like how can we make adjustments to the physical parts of the ship, but naval engineers, how things have to be signed off on, the length of time it takes to get that to happen. So when you think about even just like a parking lot, yeah, you bring in, an engineer and someone to sign off on it, and that can be a quick process depending on, the city, county, state government that has to get involved if they need to. But ours are naval engineers because we're moving.
Right. You're
And
moving on
not only
water.
that, while it's this kind of floating city or moving city, per se, like we got to, look at what we've got out there and how, is it safe? Safety always being the number one thing that we have to look at, but sound, lights, how we are flying lights, where lights are getting put, how, like, is it blocking something? Are we creating, some other issue by putting lights or sound in a certain spot? We just did an event. I guess it was now it'll be a year ago this fall. So last fall we went to Alaska for the first time and
Oh,
took
wow.
Blues Alive to Alaska. Well, there are sound ordinances. due to the
Mm,
natural ecology of the area,
sure.
glaciers to the wildlife and more. And so, where we would typically build a stage on the pool deck to have everybody, we couldn't do that. So everything was indoors. Plus,
Acoustic sets
it's
only.
cold. It's cold, it rains. So
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, everything, not a lot, everything was indoors except for really the port stops. So those are the kind of challenges. And then every port is different. So while Miami may be our home port and we do more business out of Miami than any place, this year we're sailing out of Tampa. We've sailed
Yeah.
out Long Beach out in LA before. We did Seattle last year. We've done Port Canaveral. We did Boston with our chefs making waves. And that has a whole new learning curve because each port is somehow treated differently. Can we bring a crane? Because we'll crane things onto the pool deck and then disperse gear where it
Yeah.
needs to go because it's more efficient. Because I look at our operation and it's the Super Bowl halftime show. We could get a ship coming in, and let's say that ship comes in and it's fully unloaded by 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're supposed to set sail at 6. That means from 9 to 6, if that ship was a retail ship, that means it has nothing on it. And now I am bringing staging, I'm bringing lights, I'm bringing sound, I'm bringing extra, food, packaging, gifts, branding, all of that stuff. Not only has to get put on the ship, it has to get put up. So, and then if we are not what we call like flipping the ship or doing an event back to back to back. So our typical what we do is we'll get a block and we'll take, let's just say from a time in January till April, and we'll just run events going, every 4 or 5, whatever the increment is. So that ship comes in and it may be like right now, what Kayamo finished and then immediately our outlaw event.
Right. Makes sense. You leave some of those logistics on there and then you're swapping
Correct.
banners and
Yep.
branding mostly. Yeah.
Backline and some of those other things. So
Yeah.
there is benefit to that because we can leave certain things like staging, sound, and lights and stuff like that up. But it's still a quick because we still have to create that immersive environment that was Kayamo. That's got to get gone. And now we got to worry about making it so the outlaw community is like, I'm home. And then it'll flip again to keeping the blues alive. And then it'll flip again to whatever the next thing may be. And that, depending upon, each event being very different and how they treat scenic and some of the visual design stuff, that can be a lot. I mean, think about Hallmark and
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
EDC, the event we produced with Insomniac. I mean, EDC, while it is heavy EDM and dance music, it's very visual. Like the visual aspects of it are extreme. And so thinking about how do we do that and put that up in every place, so when they walk on the ship, they're not thinking about a ship. They're like, I am in the heart of X,
Right.
and making it seamless. So yeah, the production operations has a lot of moving parts, and we have to be in sync with the ship because we are very reliant upon what the ship can do and how the ship can operate and move. Because again, they've got to run their operation,
Right.
and
Right.
they are unloading and loading things as they need, from trash to just getting more beer on board, getting more, when maybe they need a new round of linens or something along those lines. Like all of that coordination that's kind of happening. And again, you're working with very limited places to store things. So it's this constant Tetris. Like, okay, we can
That's a
slip
good word. Yeah.
because this will be here for 3 days. That's got to come out. Then it moves here, and then like it is a constant puzzle that's never ending. And very grateful for the teams that we get to work with, and the we like to say can if. Yeah, we can if, and that
Yeah.
if money,
I
that if
like that.
time, that if can be a lot of different things, but there's always a can if we can satisfy the if.
So
Yeah.
Jeff, how often are you, I mean, I guess in your ideal world, it's your annual events, and there have been so many successful ones that you don't have to go out and find new business. But how often are you, kind of creating the event? Do you have, I'm sure you have some bands and artists who come to you, but sometimes you might come up with an idea like, oh, well, let's do a Food Network, or let's do a Hallmark, or let's do a Bachelor Nation cruise. And so then you've got to find the talent and the people that are there to represent. So talk to me about what that process is like for you guys.
So we've got a whole business development team, and that's what they're dedicated to doing because as a business we are growing. We're constantly adding events every year, and that can mean different things. We've got some events that go every other year if it's a reoccurring event,
Sure.
and a lot of times I don't know what is going to come back. I've got an idea of certain events, based on, pre-sale and how sales are going. Is this something we're going to want to bring back? A lot of times an artist won't want to commit to a year or two because they don't, maybe they've never done it before. They've never sailed before.
Sure.
Right.
What just happened this spring, they weren't ready to commit for a year or two. I think, from a, success standpoint, it was something like, yes, it's on the table, but what if they don't like it? What if this just isn't an experience for them? What if the fans say this was fun, but this is an experience that we want, with you guys. We want to do something different. So
Right.
that factors into it. But as I mentioned, I'm booking 2 years out. So I'm in 2028 right now. And so we
Right.
have to make certain assumptions that certain things are coming back, but I have no idea.
Right.
The things that we know are coming back, and then that is where business development really comes into play. Is we are constantly looking at new opportunities with artists, with brands, with whatever it may be, and evaluating. Do we think this thing will be successful? Because I can tell you there are a lot of artists that believe I can sell out a ship
Of
easy.
course.
And it's like, what are you talking about?
You mean wait? Are you saying artists have egos? That's crazy.
Oh,
Breaking news.
Or a concept, maybe, we've got X hundreds of thousands of fans, on our social channels. Like, hey,
Right.
this is going to be, this is what they want. And as any promoter will tell you, it's all gambling. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It doesn't, there is no such thing as a sure thing. The minute you start saying it's going to be a sure thing, you're probably going to lose a ton of money on it because you're going to get surprised with something that you didn't think about, something that's
Right.
beyond your control, whether it's government, or politics or whatever it may be that you have no control of. They can derail whatever good idea or, positive thing you have out there. So
Yeah.
we are constantly looking. Like, it is one of those things we're evaluating, and then we'll take, it's really pretty open and honest conversations because it takes a lot of work on the artist side of things to communicate and work with our team for, over a year to execute something. And now once that first one is under their belt, there is a little bit of like, okay, I understand, and it's less learning and more executing. Like, hey, I've got a great idea, can you guys run with that? We got a great idea, do you like it? Great, we'll execute. And it becomes a little bit more fluid in that sense. Plus, every community is vastly different. My
Yeah. Yeah.
team loves to make fun of me because I say an event is an event is an event, and I mean that by, we still have to go through all the same things, like no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter if it's, if it's bananas or if it's 311. Like, the same motions and same questions we should be asking things from a safety standpoint, from an operational production standpoint. But that is just for that piece. Every event needs to be thought of differently, as what's important for this fan of bananas is probably not what's important for 311. So how do we make those things unique within that space and ask the questions? Okay, this isn't about flipping for the next event. It's, I want to make sure that every single 311 fan out there is getting that true full 311 experience. Now, what's the can if to make that work, operation and production standpoint, so then we can actually then, be able to maintain a business by being able to keep and moving it forward with something else. So it's constant. And so our team, our biz dev team is out there looking, evaluating, having these conversations. Some stuff, we're talking about like, hey, this sounds great. Let's look at it for 2028 and not.
Right. Well, plus it may sound great now, and then all of a sudden you get to 2027, you're like, oh, that trend has sailed, pun intended. Like you really, all of a sudden you're like, oh, everyone's talking about whatever it is. We're gonna do a K-pop Demon Hunters cruise, and then a year from now, no one's talking about that anymore, and you're like, all right, maybe we scrap that, whatever it is.
Timing is everything on a lot of stuff, and it is definitely one of those things. Like, we have to be predictors of, is this going to be something that is important? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about what we do is we're not chasing trends. Like, that's actually kind of the opposite of where we're going. We want something that's got that community. If it's a trend, more than likely that community is not willing to invest in this
Sure.
type of
Yeah.
experience because you're right, it may be gone, but if it is something that we think is going to have that staying power and it's proven in another way, because it may be a hot trend, but maybe it's been working for the past 15, 20 years and it's
Right.
just hasn't hit the pop zeitgeist yet or something along those lines. So yeah, they're out there. We're, constantly looking at what options. I think artists are now thinking further ahead as they think about their brand and their the experiences they're trying to put out there touring, whether they're producing music or not, or specials for comedy. Like, I mean, comedy, look at like, are they going to be on TV? Are they doing a movie? Are they going to do TV? It's just a Netflix special, whatever it may be. It's, we're starting to work with it in different ways to try and hopefully get ahead and then maybe tie it to something. So like if they are planning X, okay, can we be at the front of that? Can we be at the end of that? And that can
Right.
help go into some of that stuff too. But it is, as we are looking to grow, we have to make decisions like what are we investing in? Because in any festival, you're lucky if year one is profitable. Like if you can break even that year one, like you're doing a good job. That's
Yeah.
pop.
Yeah.
And it takes, a couple years, for an event, 2, 3 years, sometimes more, for an event to become profitable, if it will ever become profitable.
Yeah.
So risks on all sides, to execute these things and do it
Jeff,
right.
talk to me about marketing because it's one of those things. Well, I mean, it's a it's something where your marketing is so different from what we do, and it doesn't fit this basic formula for the especially from the artist side, right? Because the artist is so often used to handing off the event and the venue. Hey, your venue marketing team sell this event for us. How much do you guys do versus what you need the artist to do to make an event successful?
There are certain channels that I think we operate and we operate well from the standpoint of like, where do we think if you were to kind of look at it, break it down to like the demographic pieces of it, like this lookalike audience, where would they be, especially if they travel? So I think we are experts in trying to ensure that we are in front of the right, you would say almost like demographic audience, but we are so heavily reliant upon the artist. Like you have to.
Sure.
I'm not. We do a lot by what we call NPS score. And I'm familiar with Net Promoter Score. And one of the main question of an NPS is, would you recommend this event? And already it's kind of a flawed question because if I'm a 311 fan and I'm taking that, I'm being asked that question, would I recommend it? I'd recommend it to a 311 fan. But if you're not a
Right.
311 fan, I'm not going to
Yeah,
recommend it.
right. Sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So we are very reliant upon the artist and their channels to be able to push the stuff out. And that is honestly where a lot of alignment has to happen. And it can't be like, contractually, you're just going to put up two posts or something along those lines. Like this is for you. Like this is, while yes, this is our business and how, we ultimately make money and we are very driven to produce the best and to be out there. At the end of the day, we're connecting you to your fans.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you have to want this as much as we want this, or it's not going to be successful. I have seen artists like when it comes out, and actually I'll brag on Chris Jericho. So the first year we did the rock and wrestling tour with him, talk about production and stuff. I mean, we build a true wrestling rink
It's
that is
wild.
that is official, like
Yeah.
official rink. The first year we did that event, and it's a hard one to think about. I mean, again, music is easy because people know bands on stage, that kind of happens. Like, what's this rock and wrestling? I mean, luckily Chris, has his band Fozzy, and so there was already he's able to pull in that piece of it, and then the wrestling side of it. But Chris had his own podcast, and Chris said, I'm going to make this happen." And he didn't just talk about it once, he talked about it every single time he was on air, ensuring that this thing was a success. And that is the kind of
That's a
mentality.
WWE wrestler for you right
Right.
there, right? They know the art of the sell and the art of the
Exactly.
pitch, and I mean, yeah, credit.
So, I actually use him as the prime example. I'm like, if you want, like, you can come out the gates slow and dead, but if you want it and your community is there, you can move the needle more than, I mean, they can move it way more than any digital ad or postcard or radio spot or handbill, whatever, insert marketing channel X. They have the power. And so they have to want it and be able to go after it. And that's a big part of it. And some of, I'd say, the events that are the least successful typically are because the artist is the least engaged.
Yeah.
They're not
It
ready.
almost feels like the closest comparison is almost like a Vegas residency in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
with
Mhm.
Vegas, you're pulling fans from all over the country. So it's not like you can draw a, hour circle around Lexington, Kentucky and say, here's our audience, how do we hit it? People are going to come to a cruise and they might be flying from across the country or even across the world or Europe or something if they're a big fan. So it's really hard to target in that way. But also those Vegas residencies, it's like it is all about that artist. And it's really all about that core demo. Like how many people are just like randomly on a weekend saying, I'm going to go watch U2 at Sphere. Like they're not going to do it. But like if you're a U2 fan, you're going to drop that money and you feel like you have to go do it. So exactly. So it's like, I think it feels like, although it's obviously different and it's not a residency, it almost sounds more like it's closer to that
Yeah.
than it would be like an arena tour or a theater tour or anything else.
We're asking you to go on vacation. I mean, you are taking, multiple days. You're probably taking off of work, maybe pulling the kids out of school, and you're going on vacation. That is much different than driving 2 hours, maybe even driving 2 hours to go to a stadium show or something along those lines, and then being back in your bed that night, or even making it a weekend of it if you're trying to. Like it's a different investment. It's a different thought process. All of it together. So you're right. A Vegas residency is a great analogy for it because that's what we're going to look for. You're going to immerse yourself into this environment.
Yeah.
Jeff, before you got into this, you spent nearly 20 years as part of Bonnaroo. Talk to me about what from Bonnaroo do you take with you to your current gig?
Honestly, a lot. I take a lot because if there's something I learned, in all my years there was, and I think it was my favorite, and still is my favorite part about that event, is the community. And it is one of the few festivals that you live on the grounds. And at that point in time when it started, and you think about year one, the number of camping festivals that were out there weren't that many. I mean, you had your fish and the dead and all the things that they had going on. But our closest competitor or ally, however you want to look at it, was Glastonbury.
Yeah, sure.
Looking at how Glastonbury was able to cultivate what they did, and the hope always was you're selling a good chunk of the event without the lineup. Like it should be able to sell a good amount without the lineup because we've nurtured such a great community to be a part of it. So I take a lot, I think a lot through that lens because it taught me a lot, early in my career of just what it means to develop a community, what it means to listen and kind of understand and say, you may not think that's important, but they do, and not discrediting that because if you're not paying attention in those ways, it could be the kiss of death. And they can celebrate you and curse you all within the same sense if you're not trying to be a good steward of the brand. So yeah, there's a lot that we take away from it, and even just the challenge of it. I mean, I'd say Bonnaroo obviously has a bigger challenge because you're camping, and that is a lot different. It's a lot different than than being on a ship and kind of having the amenities that are there. But there's a lot the same. Like in terms of like where are people coming from? How can we make this easy for them? How can we make it better in that way? How can we keep the conversation going so the community continues to thrive and be a part of it? But yeah, I take a lot from that community as well as others that we produced as AC Entertainment.
There's so much that I wanted to ask you that I feel like we're just barely scratching the surface. But we're no, I'm serious. Like because a lot of times, sometimes we're just really looking for more questions to ask. But this what you do is it's so fascinating, and what you have going on there. And congratulations, by the way, on your being named one of the Impact 50 at Polestar last year. So it's really cool what you guys are doing there, and congratulations on just a very very interesting twist on this business that I think a lot of people will be fascinated by.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, before we let you go, I want to hit you with our fast five. It's just five quick questions, looking for your short, immediate response. First up, what was your very first concert?
Uh, New Edition.
Oh,
Ooh.
very nice.
Yeah.
Do you have an all-time favorite concert?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say if you're forcing me to choose, It's going to be the year that we had Jay-Z headline Bonnaroo because Stevie Wonder played into Jay-Z, and I'm a hip hop
Oh
head,
yeah.
folk fan, R&B, and watching that Stevie Wonder set was magical. I happened to be standing next to Questlove, who's a
Oh,
hero of mine too. So
yeah.
seeing that, and then Jay-Z walking out on stage and saying, "I can't wait to call my mama to say Stevie Wonder is watching my set sides." It, like
Oh,
that
That's
whole
so
that's
culmination
cool.
cool.
was it was a that was, if I'm being forced, that's no matter what, that's always in my top five. That's to be.
If you, on a cruise, obviously you've got access to some late night snacks. What's your favorite guilty pleasure late night snack?
I eat too many of them, or like any of those late night snacks. I would say I'm a fan of a cheese stick. I love a good mozzarella stick. Hard times, cookies are probably also
Yeah.
vice. If there's
Oh
very
yeah.
times I will ever turn down a cookie.
Well, how about your bucket list cruise? If there's one
Yeah.
artist that you would love to get, I know you probably have somebody in mind, but if we could do a cruise with blank, it would be number one on my bucket list.
It's gonna. I mean, I'd say Jay-Z, but as a hip hop head or Outkast, probably I take it back.
Oh yeah.
Um, don't
That'd
let
be
me. I
amazing.
think the whole like Stankonia,
Oh yeah.
Your
trying
You
Atlanta
never
show in there.
know. You
Yeah.
never know.
do a
We're
lot. There could be a
forecasting
lot
at
of fun there.
2030,
Yeah,
2030.
right. But I will say this, and I told it to my staff, and I said it was as being a hip hop head, being able to work with Rock the Bells was and is still fantastic as a hip hop head, just because of the history there in that space. But I look for the thing like that I'm not even thinking of, like those moments, the stuff. I joke with my team that for me, it went, I got into business because everyone loves, you want to be with the stars on stage. You're enamored by the talent. That's the thing that gets you going. But it quickly shifted for me. I actually love seeing the fans more. And I love seeing them sprint to the barricade and just know that they're going to ride that rail for
Yeah.
12 hours and stuff. Or watching them walk out and they're like, "Oh my God, did you hear that guitar riff on, like, when he was playing this?" Like, oh,
Oh
just
yeah.
Love that.
melt in
Yeah.
my face and all of that. That is like, that's my drug. And then now, much later now, in my career, I was joking with some of our team via WhatsApp as they were on a ship, and I was telling them I have FOMO, and one was like, "I mean, there's some challenges going on. Like, you still have FOMO seeing the challenges?" Like, yes, I do, because I get so much joy and pleasure out of seeing my team execute and solve problems and do things that, like, I'm like, I wouldn't have done it that way, but I love the way they figured that out. Like, that kind of gets me going in a new way. That this has been different ever since, as being more in leadership and taking over in different ways. I'm getting much more joy out of seeing them succeed and do different things.
Last question for you. What's your theme song? So there's a reality TV show all about the life of Cuellar, and the cameras follow you around. What's the song that plays over the opening credits?
Oh, that's I'll be honest with you, but I know this to be quick with my answer. It reminds me of, I don't know if you ever saw the Family Guy episode where Peter Griffin got his wish of having theme music that changed as he walked around. Think about that a lot of, like, when I'm walking around, like, what would be playing as I'm doing
Yeah,
the thing. But if I'm gonna pick one thing, it's gonna be Spodioty Dopalicious, the that horn section.
nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, throw out any plugs here. Somebody wants to reach out to you. They want to know more about what you guys do. There, throw out any plugs here.
Sixman.net. And it's SIXTHMAN.net. All of our festivals are there. Everything that we do, pay attention, sign up to the interest list. We're always coming up with new, interesting, amazing things, working with some of the best people in the business. And while it may not be something you're thinking about, give it a try. Because I promise you'll have the time of your life. And then you'll be looking to do your next one.
Paul and I have this bucket list of things that we want to do together that we're never going to get to, but that would be an awesome one. That
We'll
would
add
be
it. We'll add it.
that would be great. Add it to the list.
We got some great events that might be right up your alley this fall.
There you go.
We were looking.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you just so much for the time, Jeff. Really appreciate getting to hear about you and your adventures.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. Thanks for having me.
And a big thanks to everybody for listening to this episode of Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We'd love your 5-star reviews so you can help others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Ruddleberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you out at sea.
Yes.
Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Venue Marketing Conference, a marketing conference that brings together diversified event and venue professionals to cultivate education, collaboration, and innovation for the growing sports and live entertainment industry. Find out more at eventvenuemarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.